If you look closely at my invention, you'll notice a mistake that might cost me $120,000. But I have 5 days to fix it, and I don't even know where to begin. Because 3 years ago, after my jaw locked closed and I had to get 2 surgeries, I became an inventor for people with jaw pain. But after designing, assembling, and shipping over $3.5 million of my first product, I ran into massive issues with the way I manufactured them. So 6 months ago, I redesigned the whole thing from scratch. But I couldn't even fathom having the machinery and expertise required to produce my new design. So I found a factory in China to help, and over the last few months we perfected the design and even started cutting what's called the injection mold, which is this big chunk of metal cut by this massive machine that can cut up to 70 times finer than a human hair, all to form a cavity for molten plastic to turn into usable product casings. But without checking the samples in person, there was no way I could sign off on $120,000 worth of product to begin production. So last week I packed my bags and got on a flight to China for the second time in my life. Except after 20 hours of travel, what would happen next is the last thing I expected to deal with. Because when I got to the factory and was brought to the latest product sample, I was shocked to find gaps all over the device, which isn't exactly what you want to see on a $200 product. But the much scarier problem revealed itself several days later after I discovered tiny cracks in the case. Which is terrifying because the whole point of doing this is to have a durable premium product. So I sat with the engineers and for the first time got to see how complex the engineering behind injection molding really is. Because to fix the problem with the gaps, they had to carefully adjust the chemical composition of the plastic and even had to go back in and cut material from the steel molds to form a tighter fit between the plastic snapping features. But when we tried to fix the cracking problem, the funniest thing ended up happening. Because after taking a pair of pliers and snapping case after case after case, we couldn't figure out why it was being so brittle. Because we had already changed the chemical composition of the plastic in a way that should have made it softer. But the device that was cracking was clearly labeled T2, which means it was made from the new batch of plastic. Yet when we took the pliers to try to break the new samples, what do you know? Instead of snapping like a potato chip, it simply deforms. So it turns out we literally just mislabeled. The cracking issue was already solved, and this was just an old sample.